Hello there. I am David Mamano, host of The David Mamano Show. How is everybody doing today? I am so excited. I'm super, super pumped. I got a great guest, high energy guest, and he's probably the most interesting guest I've ever had because not only his range goes from stand-up comedian to PhD and everywhere in between. And he wears pink. So if you're watching this, you'll see like everything on him is pink that I can see. And that's all I want to see. But his name is David Rendall. David, welcome to the show.
Yeah, well, it's good to be on with another David. Davids are the best.
A lot of Davids, the name of kings. So happy to have you here. I met you through our friend, the great Ben Albert. Ben, thanks for the introduction. I saw you on a webinar, David, and I was just really enamored with everything that you're doing. And I want to do a kind of a quick overview of your bio so people know what they're gonna get, what's the value that they're going to get from this podcast. So, but the last 20 years, David has spoken to audiences in every inhabited continent. Now, David, I want to call you out. There are a few people in Antarctica, so I think you have to put that on your list, right?
Yeah, it's a permanent resident thing. We're trying to be technical with the language there. Penguins don't have a lot of conferences.
Oh, the poor penguins. David's clients includes U.S. Air Force, Australian government, Fortune 500 companies, Microsoft, AT&T, United Health Group, Fannie Mae, State Farm Insurance. Prior to becoming a certified professional speaker, he was a leadership professor and a stand-up comedian. What a great combo. He also managed nonprofit enterprises that provided employment for people with disabilities. In between presentations, David competes in, I forgot about this part, making it even more interesting, is that you compete in ultra marathons and Ironman triathlons. That's fantastic. You have a Doctor of Management degree in organizational leadership, as well as a graduate degree in psychology, and you are the author of 4 books. Pink Goldfish is the name of one of them. I like this one, The Freak Factor, and then you took it to the next step of the Freak Factor for kids. And then kind of more of a somewhat of a serious book. It looks like the four factors of effective leadership. So, David, again, welcome to the show. That you are the Renaissance man on steroids. So super. I mean, comedian, Ironman, professor, speaker. You got it all.
Thin. I could use some steroids. Pretty thin and pretty unmuscular. So maybe steroids is the next level. I appreciate that recommendation.
Well, all the running, but I would stay away from the steroids. You seem pretty successful. So, so what do you like? Definitely want to dive into your journey, but I also like you got so much going on. Like, what is the kind of the main thing that you help people get better at?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing, and it really does tie into all those things, including, all of my stuff, because it's really my story, is the freak factor. It's that I discovered that I was always in trouble because I couldn't sit still and be quiet and do what I was told. And now people pay me to stand up and talk and run my own business, so that I learned that my weaknesses were strengths and that the things that people saw as my biggest problems were actually my biggest opportunities for success. And, even the long distance running and the Ironmans, I got in trouble for being hyperactive, for not being able to sit still. And hyperactive means too active. And then you do an Ironman and some of those same people go, wow, that's amazing. Not because I changed who I was, but because I was in the right spot. The alignment is one of the things I teach where it's perfect for who I am. And so people don't see that as a problem anymore. I don't see it as a problem anymore because it was never a problem at all. It was just a mismatch between me and the situation. So, all of my stuff, self-employment, I do my own thing and I didn't like to be told what to do. I'm on the move. I'm in charge. All of those things fit with who I am. And so all I'm trying to do is I feel very fortunate that I figured that out. I feel very fortunate that I have the life that I have. And I'm just trying to help as many other people have that life as possible, which is why we wrote the kids book and the other books and do my presentations is like, hey, this is an insight that has the potential to change your life. And I'm just trying to share that as broadly as possible.
I love that so much because I think we all have a freak inside of us, right? And we suppress it. Most people suppress it, trying to, fit in into what quote unquote normal life is supposed to be. So it sounds like you're saying, hey, let's dig into your freak factor a little bit and find a way to make that just the main part of your life, because it's really who you are.
Well, I think you said something really smart there, and a lot of people miss that. So some people are like, oh, Dave, so I'm supposed to wear as much pink as you, or I'm supposed to be a freak, or you want me to become a weirdo. You want me to do weird, you want me to pick a color and get my car wrapped. And what you said is suppress, right? So that's actually what's happening. I'm not trying to get you to be a weirdo. I'm trying to tell you you already are, and you've been hiding it because you're afraid of what your wife's going to think, what your husband's going to think, what your kids are going to think, what the neighbors are going to think, what your coworkers are going to think, what your boss is going to think. And so most people, have these uniquenesses. They have these strengths and weaknesses. And especially that's why I talk about the weaknesses. They're trying to fix those weaknesses to make everybody around them happy, right? And they don't see the upside. The people around them don't see the upside. And they think if they could just do what everybody else wants, change these parts of themselves, like to your point, suppress these parts of themselves, life would get better. And all that leads to is anxiety and frustration and depression and difficulty. And the opposite is, happiness, fulfillment. When you decide, when you realize I can be myself and it is valuable, right? Not just be yourself, but it is valuable. There is a place for it. It is useful. And I don't need to be someone else. I need to be more of who I am.
God, I love that. I could talk to you all day long because, I've been letting my freak factor out for a long, long time. But I'm always trying to let it out more, embrace it more, and just be comfortable with that, Yeah. And I think, it's funny. I just read something a few months ago that they somehow put together some research of the 5 regrets of people on their deathbed. Of course, it was didn't spend enough time with my kids, didn't travel enough. But the one that really hit me was I regret that I tried to please others instead of just being who I'm supposed to be. And I was like,
I think the way they say it is something like I wasn't true to myself or something along those lines, right? And that's that it's a regret when you're dying, but it's also makes everything harder along the way. I mean, on this podcast, you're asking me to be on here because you liked who I am. I didn't have to sit up all morning going, okay, how do I give Dave the impression that he wants? How do I seem to be? That's exhausting, right? It's exhausting to be at work all day trying to be someone else. It's exhausting being in a relationship trying to be someone else. It's exhausting trying to be a parent and looking around at people online and people giving advice and people and how do I be a good parent like they are? I mean, there's these, and it is, if you can shut that off, it's so freeing. I mean, I'll turn on, YouTube or something, or be some lady who's like, here's how I make breakfast for my 16 kids every day. And I'm like, no, don't have 16 kids. I don't want to ever make that many sandwiches. I don't want to ever have that many Rubbermaid containers. But what happens is I can just shut it off and go, good for you. That's not for me. But what other people do is go, how come I'm not that organized? How come I don't have that much energy? How come I can't keep everything under control like that? Because you're not her. And she's got her own unique life. And you've got strengths she doesn't have. She's got weaknesses you don't have. And you don't need to be her. But we look at that and go, and that's what we think we can do. We can pick and choose. I want to be as organized as her, and I want to be as attractive as him, and I want to be as successful as them. I mean, people will go, oh, Bill Gates, super rich. I wish I was super rich. Well, Bill Gates just got divorced, and a lot of people wish they could stay in their marriages. Bill Gates isn't crushing it at everything. One of my favorites was one time after Tom Brady won yet another Super Bowl, somebody posted, Tom Brady, 6 Super Bowl rings, 0 marathons. If you've run a marathon, you're fitter in one way than Tom Brady.
I love that.
And I don't even know if Bill Gates takes long walks. So if you've done a 5K, you're doing better than Bill Gates with his fitness. And if you're still married after 20-something years, you're doing better in your marriage than Bill Gates did. So you're better than a lot of people at a lot of things, but we focus on that one thing where they're better than us, and we act as though that's the only thing. That person's really strong. That person's really smart. That person has a great business. That person's very attractive. That person has a good family. And we don't realize you have to take the whole package. And so then we don't take and value the whole package in ourselves. And that's what I'm trying to get people to do, is see that the unique things about you are good and they're bad at the same time. They're weaknesses and their strengths at the same time. I'm real tall, and that's good in a variety of ways, but I hit my head a lot, and it's hard to find pants that are long enough. You don't get to pick and choose. I don't get to be tall sometimes, and then medium-sized, and then short. And that's what we want. We want to have this pick and choose of characteristics instead of really valuing the unique set of characteristics that we have. And very specifically, a lot of people teach people to be different, but specifically, not even to your point, being different, but stop suppressing the difference you already have. I'm not telling you to go out and chase something. Stop suppressing it. And you said this too, and I call it amplification. And then once you realize the value, I call that appreciation, then start turning up the volume. Freaking out isn't trying to be something. It's not putting on a show. It's not copying somebody else's. It's finding your own, valuing your own, and then turning up the volume on that. And the biggest reason we don't is because we tend to see the downside of the characteristic instead of the upside. Let's say you're really intense. Then people go, wow, Dave, that's great. You're really intense. But, sometimes you just need to dial it back a little bit. Well, guess what? You call intensity that's dialed back. It's not intensity, right? So now I can't love your intensity anymore because you don't have intensity. You just have a moderate level of energy, which isn't surprising, isn't interesting, isn't valuable. It's just fine. And so people want you to be all of those wonderful things without any of the downsides, or all of those wonderful things, but only half of the time. And success in life is really about not just being those things, but also being comfortable with those things, finding the real value in those things, and then turning up the volume on those things. That's where real happiness and fulfillment comes from.
I love it. I got goosebumps. I feel like you're saying, there might be two things going on, that people are ignoring their own freak factor because they're looking at others, comparing themselves to others.
Yep.
Or maybe they know. The second thing is maybe they know what it is, but they have fear. They're afraid to let it shine and let it be their one thing. Or they're ashamed.
Yeah, they're ashamed of it, right? I shouldn't be like this. I wish I wasn't like this. Again, assuming the other person's is kind of all upside and not upside and downside, like whatever yours. A simple example, if I only have a minute or two to explain, a simple example of this idea is persistence. If people give you feedback and they go, David is really persistent. I love that about David. The weakness of that is stubbornness. David sticks with things longer than most people think is reasonable. Well, guess what persistence is? It's sticking with things longer than most people think is reasonable. You can't be more persistent and less stubborn simultaneously. And the only difference between persistence and stubbornness is the perception of the people watching it. Am I impressed that David sticks with things longer than most people think is reasonable? Or do I think he's unreasonable for sticking with things longer than most people think is reasonable? But persistence is stubbornness. And so this is where we get stuck. We somehow want to be more persistent somehow in a good way, but never be perceived as stubborn, instead of saying, I'm a persistent person, and that's what's going to help me win. And I'm about to become even more persistent. And if that bothers you, get ready, because you're going to be more bothered. Because people only see persistence in reverse. Once you succeed, they stop calling it stubbornness and they start admiring it as persistence. And every quality is like that. If you're super organized, you're going to be inflexible. If you're super creative, you're oftentimes messy. There's always an upside and a downside that go with any particular characteristic. So the only way to get to the point of turning up the volume on that is to stop being ashamed of it, stop focusing on the downside. But to your point, then we also do the same to others. If I have to suppress who I am to succeed in the world, now to be a good child, I'm trying to help you succeed in the world, so you need to suppress who you are because I have to as well. And this is the way you do it. You got to get by in this world where nobody really wants you and what you have to offer. What they want is these good characteristics. So try to be those things, push down the bad things, and you're going to have a good life. So we pass this stuff along, and then we go to work and we do this. You can't enjoy your work all the time, and everybody's got to do things they don't like. And this is just the job description. So stop telling me you can't or you don't want to, and just suck it up and work harder. And then we just perpetuate these things instead of saying, There's people who love Excel spreadsheets. And there's people who hate them. And if you love them, find a job with spreadsheets. And if you don't, stay away from jobs with spreadsheets. Success in life is not about forcing yourself into situations where you don't fit and you're not happy and your skills don't match.
I feel like this ties into, the book, The One Thing by Keller from Keller Williams, right? Or if you're familiar with the work from Gay Hendricks, right? About, finding your zone of genius, pretty much. Mm-hmm. Are these tied into focusing and finding your one thing? And oftentimes, is that your freak thing?
Yeah, that's alignment, right? Is finding in the right. I did a whole TEDx talk about this in Zurich. In the right situation, your weaknesses become strengths. So the way all these go together is every characteristic is a weakness and a strength. At the same time, we have to accept that, but then we appreciate it. We see the upside. Wow, I'm persistent and more persistent than most people. That's how I'm going to win. Amplification, I'm going to turn up the volume on that, but none of that works unless you find the right fit. If I'm a counselor, which is what I studied to be, learn how to sit still and be quiet and let other people take the lead, right? I studied those things. I learned those things. I still can't do those things. If as a counselor, I give hour-long speeches to the people that are sitting across from me, I'm a bad counselor. Not because I talk too much, but because I talk too much in the wrong situation, right? But when I get paid and hired as a professional speaker and I talk the whole time, nobody goes, what was he doing up there? Just talking and talking and talking and waving his arms and goofing around and making people laugh. Let's get serious. Stay focused. They go, you did it. You entertained people. You talked the whole time. Some people can't talk for an hour. So it's match. When I do an Ironman, nobody calls it hyperactive, but you bounce your leg in class and you tap your pen and somebody thinks you need medication. You can't stare at somebody talking about math for 55 minutes and now you've got a mental health disorder. But you put that same person in gym class, you put that same person in some kind of activity, you put that same person on a video game or on a computer, and they look like a genius because they are when they're in the right spot. So yes, success in life is about finding, and the reason we don't is because we're not looking to have that thing that matches with our biggest weakness. Most people who get in trouble for because they can't sit still, be quiet, and do what they're told, which is millions of especially boys who get diagnosed with ADHD, they don't go, well, how could I find a place that doesn't need me to sit still, doesn't need me to be quiet, and I don't need to do what I'm told? They go, how do I learn to sit still, be quiet, and do what I'm told? And they get medication, and all of their activities are also generated towards fixing that weakness instead of where are the situations, because nobody's teaching that, or not enough people are teaching that, where are the situations that reward me for being who I am instead of punishing me? Where's the situation where this is a massive strength instead of an incredible weakness? And so that's what, I'm trying to teach people. You don't have to change who you are, you change where you are. You don't have to change the person, you change the place. But we can't do that. None of that makes sense if you go, no. But once you learn, because that's what people do. Oh, sure. Find the right fit. After you've learned to sit still, be quiet, and do what you're told. After you've learned to be more organized. After you've learned to not be so stubborn. After you fix your weaknesses, then go find situations that kind of fit with these mediocre abilities you have, instead of, no. There are transformational situations out there where when you find it, you go from maybe the worst performer to the highest performer. Because we have all these lies. How you do anything is how you do everything. No, it's not. I'm going to do this podcast for the next 45 minutes with you, 45 minutes with you, differently than I send invoices for my business. Mm-hmm. I don't get pumped up about that. I don't shout and wave my arms during that. I don't get excited about that. I don't look forward to that. I procrastinate that. How I do anything is not how I do everything. And how most people do it. But we think school success shows you people's future work success. And it's just not true. Sometimes the worst people in school do the best in life. And sometimes there's been a whole study of valedictorians. Sometimes the valedictorians, the best in school, they do fine. I'm not saying valedictorians end up, homeless failures. That's not what I'm saying. Valedictorians, though, don't do the best. They did the best in school and then they do fine in real life. So that means somebody who wasn't the best at school is doing the best in real life. And we're not talking enough about that because we still can only measure the school stuff.
Yep. You're just preaching to the choir here. I mean, you're amplifying everything in my mind, and I'm just loving it so much. I'm also thinking, like, so for someone who is grappling with their freak, maybe they're hearing this kind of message for the first time. David, where do they start? How do they? I know I love what you talk about environment. Like, you're supposed to be, if you like talking, then maybe find an open mic night at a stand-up comedy club, or try to get a gig at Rotary, right? But like, is that how to start? Just like these little baby steps? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, yeah, the first step is, and I have basically a two-step process: thinking differently, then acting differently. So the first part is to know what those things are. So if you have a vague sense of who you are, that's not enough. You want to take assessments. I don't care which ones you take. A DISC is good. An MBTI is good. I don't care if you're doing what Star Wars character are you on some kind of social media platform. No, seriously, anyone that comes along, Enneagram, whatever. For self-awareness, almost any assessment is good. I don't like oftentimes the feedback you get. So you take a DISC and they're going to go, you're kind of high on dominance and D, and you need to be a little more flexible, and you need to be a little more nice. And you need to be, I don't like that part. That part's wrong. But finding out who you are is good, right? So take assessments. That's the starting point. Get feedback from people, ask around, but also even some of that is tainted because that's people telling you what they want from you, not telling you who you should be, right? If someone tells you you're conceited, who decides? Is there a blood test for being overconfident? Who decides? Because a really confident person might think you're not confident enough, and an insecure person might think you're way too confident. So what are you? So at some point, other people, bosses, spouses, they're not necessarily I think we need to take it all together, but we need to not put too much on anyone. So I think the starting point is awareness of your strengths and weaknesses, but the biggest part is what I've been talking about. It's find the upside. Okay, I can't, or I don't like to. What's the other side of the coin, right? Like I said, behind me is a book called Messy, The Power of Disorder to Transform Our Lives. Messy people are oftentimes very creative. They don't need to learn to be more organized. They don't need to learn to be more structured. They need to see that they're creative, accept that they're going to be disorganized, and seek out situations where people don't need their organization and they do want their creativity. Organized people are going to be inflexible, but that's what organization is. It's everything has a place and everything in its place. Structure is inflexibility. That's what structure means. If you've got a strong structure, it doesn't just flop around, or else it's a flexible, it's not structured very well. It's loosely structured. So that's the first part, is once I know the upside, then, and I can appreciate and accept that instead of thinking, oh, I'll just go chase something else. Then it really, that's the starting point, because I don't know what the right fit is until I know who I really am, not who I think I should be, not who people have told me to be. So one of the things I have in the book, and it's also free on my website, is an assessment where you pick your strengths, you pick your weaknesses, and then it shows you how those two things are connected. It shows you that you get criticized for being obsessive workaholic, but that's because you're motivated and ambitious. And there's nothing wrong with being motivated and ambitious. Some people call you indecisive, but that's because you're patient and reflective. And there's a lot of value in being patient and reflective. So part of the problem in life is parents, teachers, and employers keep giving us this feedback about our weaknesses, and we think we need to change them, instead of saying, yeah, but that weakness is tied to this powerful strength. And when I make decisions faster, you're not getting the value of my thoughtfulness and reflectiveness. And so I need to be in situations where people value in-depth analysis and they're willing to invest the time in it, right? So it's two steps. There's more, but two steps really. Find the upside, and then find the situation where the spotlight's on the upside and the spotlight is off of the downside. Yeah. Nobody expects me to be a good listener on stage. Nobody Nobody criticized. I mean, I'm literally disruptive during my own presentations, right? I'll think of something and do like I did as a class clown, and I'll start talking about something else and making somebody laugh and literally disrupting the flow of what I even had planned. And then everybody had a great time. And no, guess Dave was very disruptive and inappropriate. Yep. It still happens. So I just, my book is called The Freak Factor. You see the freak neon behind me. My book's called The Freak Factor for Kids. It's changed, thousands of lives, and people have sent me some amazing feedback about how it's helped them with their child with autism or ADHD, or just a kid being bullied, or a lot of times boys who want to wear pink and they get teased mercilessly at school. For that. And so I had a chance to get a new license plate here in North Carolina, and I typed in freak, and it wouldn't let me do that because somebody already had it. So I typed in freaks, and then I got this weird refund on my credit card, and then I got a letter from the DMV saying they won't let me put indecent and obscene things on my license plate. And so I still run into it, right? I'm just trying to be myself, and that's what freak means. It means to be unusual, to be odd, to be different. And the government of North Carolina has decided that the word freak is a swear word. And that really bothers me. I don't like not being able to, having to do what I'm told. And there's actually a guy who did it in Canada. His name is Osman, which is a very common name in Canada, but it looks like ass man. So he tried to get a license plate with his last name on it. His on his driver's license is his last name, and he tried to get his last name on his license plate, and they wouldn't let him. And so he has a white pickup truck, and the license plates in Saskatchewan are white. So he just made the tailgate of his pickup truck a gigantic version of a Saskatchewan license plate that says Osman on it. And so they kept him from doing it. And so that's what appeals to me. Like, I want to now put a huge license plate in my back window, a graphic of a license plate in my back window that says freaks, because I can't have the license plate, but I can also have swear words and bumper stickers all over my car, and that's not illegal or wrong. So that kind of stuff still gets to me. And the reason I bring that up is because people think, okay, Dave, you couldn't sit still, be quiet, and do what you're told. But certainly you matured, and you understand that you have to do that sometimes in life. And so now you're better at it than you're really giving yourself credit for. No, it's the opposite. I'm 51 years old now. I'm worse at doing what I was told than I ever was, because the more my way works and the more success I have doing things the way I choose to do things, the more resistant I am to doing things the way other people want to do things. And as a 51-year-old man, when the DMV tells me I can't have a certain license plate, I want to throw a tantrum like a small child. I want to go yell at somebody. I want to send flaming messages on social media. I want to send nasty emails. I'm furious about the inability to do what I want in that situation, which again, some listeners are still going to describe as a problem of mine. And I'm going to say that's what's made me successful, is actively trying to push back and create the life I want in a world that's trying to make me want what they want for me.
When did you see the light? Were you living, in the normal box of life, and all of a sudden you're like, I can't take it anymore? What happened?
Yeah, I was in a car wash listening to an audiobook called Now Discover Your Strengths. I'd never heard about positive psychology. I had a master's degree in psychology, and there hadn't even been a paragraph in a book about emerging ideas in any of my programs about positive psychology, and it's been around since the 70s. But most psychology is what's wrong with you and how do we fix it. Positive psychology is what's good about you and how do we build on it. And I was sitting there and I was helping out with the local chamber of commerce and stuff, because I was helping people with disabilities to get jobs in a small town. And I thought, they're not going to do anything for me that's basic persuasion unless I do something for them. How do I create some kind of relationship, rapport? How do I go first before I ask for something? How do I give something? So I was volunteering and helping, and I was on the Chamber of Commerce board. And sooner or later, they want you to stand up and do a little thing at the banquet and introduce some people and whatever. And I had a little success with that. Everybody was laughing and had a good time. I made a joke about how we were going to put out a swimsuit calendar with the board of directors from the Chamber of Commerce to raise money that year. And that was a winner, because we were all fantastically unattractive and unfit. And So I was sitting there, and then
how old were you during this time?
Probably 25, 26 years old.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there. I'm married, don't have kids yet. I'm trying to build my career. I've got my master's degree, but even that. So you said, am I doing the normal thing? Got the master's degree because they won't hire you for certain kinds of jobs, especially in psychology, without a master's degree. I need you to pick me, and you won't pick me based on my merits. You'll pick me based on these qualifications. I'm still getting the stamp that you need in order for me to have the opportunity I want. I got my doctorate so I could teach full time. And now I do stuff that I could brag I only had a high school education and be a professional speaker. I don't need the doctorate for this. So I wasn't trying to sort of still make it on my own. I was still trying to ask, what do other people need from me in order for them to respect me and choose me, right? But I put two things together in that car wash. I was like, wait a second, this says build on your strengths, but it looks like, is it possible that my strengths are the things that people have been calling my weaknesses my whole life, right? Like I'm standing up in front of people, making them laugh, doing a good job, having a good time. They're loving it. I'm loving it. And yet that's the thing that people spent their whole life trying to stop me from doing. So I wonder if my weakness is a strength. I wonder if the worst things about us are the best things about us. And that's what sort of changed everything. And then to your point about amplification and sort of turning up the volume over time, the last 20, 25 years has been, yep, that works. Let's do more. Yep. Ooh, that worked. Let's do more. A little bit of pink was good. A little more pink is good. A little bit of doing what I want is good. A little more is what I want. I didn't start off running 100-mile running races. I started off doing a 5K, then a 10K, then a half marathon, then a full marathon, then a 50K. It's like that. It's moving my body feels good. I don't need to sit still all the time. And actually, I have a higher than normal need to be active. That's not a problem, except if I'm trapped in a desk all day at school or at work. What if I explore that? Even yesterday, I'm doing a lot more golfing. And yesterday I had planned to golf in the morning, but then I needed to take my car in somewhere, and I wasn't going to have my car for a while. I was going to be near my buddy. I asked him if he'd pick me up and we could go golfing. He goes, sure, but I'm not available till a couple hours later, so I'll drop you off at a par 3 course. You can do some golfing. So I golfed 18 holes in the morning. Then I golfed 18 par 3 holes in the mid-afternoon. And then we went out and did 18 holes yesterday. I did 54 holes of golf yesterday. That's my idea of a good time, right? That's not a lot of other people's idea of a good time. The PGA Championship was on yesterday, and some golf people's idea of a good time is feet up on the couch, eating snacks all day, watching the PGA Championship. And I don't mind that either, but I love to be outside. I love to be moving. And once I could stop in my mind letting other people determine the right level of activity, there's no right level of activity. There's only a right level of activity for you. There's only a right level of organization for you. There's only a right level of, you know what I mean? And so that's just been, and I like the way you said it, it's been a journey of I learn it, I try it, it works. What if I did a little more? What if I did a little more? And now basically it's, I don't think I've still gotten to the maximum level, but it's enough where I'm encouraging. The real thing is, if you're experiencing something that's working and valuable for you, I think the next level is sharing it with other people so they can benefit from that. I'm happy enough. I'm fulfilled enough. I've got enough money to pay my bills. I was able to help my parents to retire when they wouldn't have been able to afford that. I've accomplished what most people are trying to accomplish. I'm okay. There's a lot of people in this world who don't even have the basics. And I think that's part of our responsibility. If you've had a certain amount of success, and that's another one of my freak factors. You know, sometimes my family's like, Dave, you know, you're too generous. You let people take advantage of you. You give too much. You need to focus more on us or yourself or whatever. Or is that necessary? Or are those people, you know, I'm always going to make mistakes on that side. I'm going to be more generous and less concerned sort of about myself. And that's a strength and a weakness. I probably give money sometimes to people who don't really need it or could be working harder or whatever it happens to be. But that's a mistake I know I'm making and I'm comfortable with. And I think that's what life's about at some point, is not just do I have enough, but am I sharing what I have with others, and am I trying to give other people a better life? And as I get older, I think more and more of that is true. How do you pass it along? How do you share it with other people? Not just try to focus on yourself.
Awesome. Very well said. Are you still doing Ironmans at the age of 51?
I did Ironman Wisconsin last year. I don't know that I want to keep doing Ironmans just from a training standpoint. And so my kids, I'm at a new phase. My daughter's graduating high school. She's my youngest daughter, and she's going to college in the fall. So I'm about to be an empty nester. And I always liked golf, but I couldn't justify spending that kind of time. So I'm getting back into golf, as you heard from yesterday. Yeah. And I think that's going to be kind of the thing. I'm going to keep running. I have a marathon planned. Both of my daughters are running their first marathon in the fall, and I'm training to run that with them.
Awesome.
But I think I tend to go in spurts with sort of obsessions, and I think it's back to golf. I'm really loving it, and it's same thing. It's outside. I don't ride the cart. I carry my bag. I use it as a way to get exercise. Like I said yesterday, I probably walked like 11 miles with a pack on my back, up and down hills. So I don't know if I'll keep doing Ironmans. I'll keep doing long distance running, but there's just a lot of complications with the travel related to Ironmans and stuff like that I don't know is the perfect fit for me. I think it was good fit, not perfect fit. Yeah.
I had a few guests ago. I had Jack Daly. You must know Jack Daly, right?
One of my favorites. Yep.
He started Ironmans in his late 50s, right? Like he and so he inspired me. And I'm going to make this public with you first time now. I actually just hired a trainer.
I love
Vince. I get a little plug here, Vince Luongo, and he's going to train me. I'm starting off with a triathlon. Yeah. Right. So this fall.
Yeah, that's what I started off: sprint distance triathlon, Olympic distance triathlon, half Ironman, full Ironman. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've done 2 half marathons, but that was like 10 years ago. Really bad shape right now. So I'm pumping it up, getting back into gear. And the goal is to do the Finger Lakes Triathlon this fall. So that's where I am. So you're inspiring me. So thank you.
I love it.
It's a good drug of choice, right? Being outside exercising.
Also, maybe. So what I tell people is like, this is going to sound weird, but I mean, I really dislike all the talk about discipline and getting out of your comfort zone and going into the pain cave. I've run 100 miles. I've never been in the pain cave. I finished the race. I did more than most people will ever do, but I ran at a pace. When you run 100 miles, I can't run at a pace that hurts too bad. That's part of it. You have to be able to run. I ran for 30 hours. I want to be moving. I want to be outside. So I really encourage people. Like I love Ironman. I love the way it feels to be on the bike and just be cruising. I love sometimes the training of just lap after lap after lap in the pool and just knowing you're knocking it out. I got injured real bad in training for Ironman in 2016. And the day before, you only need to swim like 3,800 meters for an Ironman swim. I'd swam like 5,900 meters in the pool. I was the fittest I'd ever been. I was crushing it on the bike, training for an Ironman here in North Carolina. And I got attacked by a couple of dogs, out on the road while I was biking, and they knocked me down at 25 miles an hour. And I shattered my shoulder.
Oh, geez.
And I've done multiple Ironmans after that. I did 3 in 2019 in 11 weeks. But I don't encourage people to do activities where it's like, I should do that, or that's a good thing to do, or I'll be happy that I'm done. With Ironman training, 0.02% is doing the Ironman. 99.8% is going for a jog, riding on your bike, swimming in the pool. And if you hate that, all you're doing is setting up a life that you hate, right? So I always tell people when it comes to physical activity, well, really with anything, but it applies to physical activity too. How do you like to do that? So for example, Ironman training, if you're a real social, extroverted connection person, find a team, connect with a team. If you're an individual person, do that kind of stuff on your own. If you like to be active in those ways, do that. But if not, golf is a great way to stay fit. Walking is a great way to stay fit. No pain, no gain. Absolutely not true. More and more research suggests that just a few walks a week, and especially if you put some weight on, but even if you don't, adding weight, I mean, not weighing more yourself, but just walking is a very good exercise. It's also very unlikely to get you injured, very unlikely to cause other kinds of problems for you, very easy to do in just about any situation, no matter where you are. So I'm really against all of those hyper discipline, all those kind of things. And I also think it's not true. I think the people who preach hyper discipline and no pain, no gain are the kind of people who like doing stuff that's painful to other people. And here's how I know. When they get injured and they can't do their hyper disciplined stuff, they're devastated and depressed because they can't go to the gym, they can't do their super workout, they can't lift weights, they can't go for their long run. And I've been there. I like to be outside and I like to be on the move. And when I'm sidelined with an injury, I'm sad about it. So I really encourage people, even with exercise, understand who you are and find activities that you genuinely enjoy. And they help you get fitter at the same time. And there's a million of them. Maybe it's pickleball. One lady in my class was saying that one of her goals was to run more, even though she hates it. But before that, she told me she really enjoys a certain kind of tap dance. I said, well, isn't tap dancing good exercise? She said, yeah. I said, why don't you do more of the thing you love instead of trying to do more of the thing you hate, right? So, yeah, I encourage people to be more active and to be healthy, but I try to encourage. I don't know that everybody has to do an Ironman. I don't think it fits with every kind of personality. It doesn't fit with every kind of lifestyle. I think it can be incredibly rewarding and energizing, but I think there's better ways for a lot of people to do it depending on what their unique personality is. I mean, my wife has come to finish lines at the Ironman, and she goes, you know how a lot of people get inspired to do an Ironman when they see that? She goes, it's not for me. But instead of saying, but it should be, she was just able to go, that's not my thing.
Right. Yeah.
And she's an incredible interior designer, and she's got other things, right? So find your thing and find it with exercise. Yeah.
All right. Last but not least, David, I'm sure you've told the story a million times, but we have to end with what happened with the pink hair. How did you become all pink?
Simple. So I used to be in health or in human services, health and human services, and that's primarily women. So even my master's is in counseling psychology, which is primarily women. Even in college right now, college is a majority female now. But especially psychology, especially men go into clinical psychology, not stereotypically, just the numbers, right? There's more men in clinical psychology, research, analysis, that kind of stuff. More women in counseling psychology. I was regularly the only man in any of my classes. And then I worked in nonprofits helping people with disabilities. Again, like I was a manager at one point, and I had 25 people working for me, and one was a male, right? So, and then I would go to speak. And because I would tend to get opportunities to speak in the field that I was in, I'd speak in rooms full of women. So I remember the first time it happened, and I was like, I'm the only guy in here. I was talking about parenting, and I didn't have kids. I'm like, I need to do something because they're just going to be looking at me. And so I started telling these little jokes about living with women and how it's turning me into a woman, and how they're trying to get me to use exfoliating body wash and manage my eyebrows and stuff like that. And it just became a thing. And so I started wearing some pink shoes. And this is like we talked about earlier, the evolution. I wonder if it's okay. First it was, I wonder if it's okay to not wear dress shoes. It wasn't pink to begin with. Can I wear these cool 70s looking sneakers? Because that's when I grew up in the 70s. Can I wear these cool 70s looking sneakers with my clothes? Can I wear jeans instead of dress pants? Can I untuck my shirt instead of tucking it in, but I'm still wearing a suit jacket, right? Then can I wear pink shoes? People loved the pink shoes. It's amazing the way pink shoes blows people's minds. Then I added some fun pink socks. Then I wore pink pants. Then I got a pink shirt. My triathlon bike is pink. Now my car is pink. I have pink tattoos. So it just started as a silly little thing my daughters and my wife, my 3 daughters and my wife are turning me into a woman. It was some funny stories and some funny jokes. But then it also, it does, and this is important for a lot of your audience, business owners, it causes everybody to do what you just did. The guy's at the dump. I'm a mile from the dump, and I took stuff to the dump the other day in my pink car, and the 2 guys working at the dump are like, what's up with that? Can you tell us more about that? And now when I go to the dump, they're like, Dave! So wouldn't that kind of name recognition be nice for most people? Wouldn't it be nice, instead of having to chase people down, shouting at them about what you're up to, wouldn't it be nice to have them come to you? And the way that happens is by being who you are and being willing to do something different that goes against the grain of what everybody else is up to. So it started as just something silly and fun, but it also was an experiment to see how much of myself could I be and still have it work. And now it's just kind of exploded. But the biggest value of it is what you just said. It causes people in every situation I'm ever in, online and in real life, to say, please tell me what you're up to. Please tell me what you're about. It also puts a smile on people's faces. People want to take pictures. In fact, I have a new upgrade that I'm just premiering today. So my friend Stan, we wrote a book together called Pink Goldfish.
I know Stan.
Yeah, and he's got different, he's got purple goldfish and yellow goldfish and green goldfish. So he goes with different colors depending on what he's talking about. Yeah. And so the other day I saw him with these glasses, and he goes, you got to check these out. And so I just did. So I ordered new frames, and so these are kind of a light pink, but then they give you these little magnetic things that you can just immediately change the frame color. And so I got 4 or 5 different versions of them. So we're always taking the pink to the next level. So now I got better pink glasses. I used to have some, but they broke, and I found them at the airport in Paris or something that weren't easy to replace. So now I've got pink glasses again. But yeah, it's just a great way to, it's also a way to practice what I preach. If you're telling people to do stuff and you're not actively doing it, I feel like that's a miss, right? Yeah. And so if I'm going to tell people to stand out, be unusual, be weird, I need to know that works, and I need to be practicing it at a high level in my life. And so it's a way to walk the talk in a way that a lot of people don't.
Flying your freak flag very loud and proud, right? So excellent. I love it. Well, David, I got to tell you, I am jazzed. The goosebumps lasted throughout this whole show for me. I'm drinking your pink Kool-Aid. There's the next thing. Have some pink Kool-Aid by you all the times, right? And super, super psyched I met you. I hope to meet you in person someday. I'd love to come see one of your shows or when you're on stage. I feel like, kindred spirit on steroids. There's that steroids again. Please don't take them. You look fantastic.
You're really pushing the steroids, man. I mean, obviously, clearly, I don't know. You mentioned that in your Ironman training. So I do think we need to do a quick PED test. Scott, get on that. Scott, once he's done, let's see if he was podcast enhancing drugs, PEDs.
Yes, there's a podcast steroid. So yes, but David, super, super great. Thank you so much. People want to get in touch with you. Where's the best way to go?
Yeah, I mean, drendall.com, DRENDALL.com, but also I'm on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. Just if you Google David Rendall, I'm the first thing that comes up.
Excellent. The first and the best David Rendall out there. So
that's
awesome.
Right.
And everybody, thank you for watching and or listening. We appreciate you for being a part of the David Bomano Show. Do us a favor, speaking of all the socials, like us, share us. We're trying to build some great impact here with people like David. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great day, and make sure to stay awesome.